Silence isn't just the absence of noise, it's a message. A loud one. When you go quiet, she doesn't just hear the lack of words, she feels it. Deep in her chest. It's that subtle shift that flips a switch inside her mind. And here's what most men never realize. Your silence makes her think more than your words ever did. When you stop calling, when your name no longer lights up her phone, when you don't chase, don't explain, don't react, that's when the real chaos starts inside her head. She starts replaying everything. Every word. Every moment. Every pause. And suddenly, your silence becomes the loudest presence in her life. Welcome to Become Stoic. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on what really goes through her mind when you vanish from the conversation. What happens when the texts stop? When the attention fades? When the energy shifts? If you've ever wondered what she's secretly thinking when you disappear, this is the video that answers it. Stick around to the very end, because once you understand the power of silence, you'll never waste energy begging for attention again. Let's begin. Part 1. Her ego feels it first. When you pull back, it's not her heart that flinches first, it's her ego. That's the real battlefield. Most women are used to living in a world drenched in attention. Compliments in her DMs, likes on her photos, strangers staring as she walks by. It's not praise anymore, it's background noise. Like air, she doesn't even notice it until you go silent. And when you do, it hits different. Not because she misses you, not yet, but because your silence disrupts the rhythm she's grown addicted to. Suddenly, the one man who once added to that chorus of validation has gone quiet. The absence doesn't just feel odd. It feels like disrespect. That's when her ego starts whispering. Why hasn't he reached out? Did I do something? Has he moved on? At first she'll try to play it cool. Laugh it off. Shrug it away. She might post a story looking unbothered, maybe even flirt a little louder just to prove she doesn't care. But inside, the silence is working. It's pressing on a nerve pride can't hide. Because here's the truth. Her ego can handle rejection that's loud and clear. She can bounce back from, I'm not interested. What rattles her is the unknown. The quiet, silence is the one sound her pride can't filter out. It doesn't give her closure. It gives her questions. And questions? They turn into obsession. Now she's not the one being adored. She's not the one in control. In that strange new role, she starts to feel like the one she used to ignore, waiting, wondering, watching. That role reversal, it cuts deep. It makes her second-guess her power. And trust this, she won't show you any of this. On the surface, she'll act colder, maybe even cruel. But that's just camouflage for the chaos underneath. Most men never make it to this point. They crack. They chase. They explain. They break the silence too soon. But the ones who hold the line, who sit quietly while her ego burns, they discover something most never will. That silence isn't passive. It's a weapon. A mirror, a storm. And the moment her ego starts folding inward, questioning everything she thought she knew about you, that's when something subtle, almost imperceptible, begins. The chase starts to shift. Part 2, she pushes to see if you'll break. When you go silent, don't expect her to come running. That's not how this works. Most men assume that disappearing will trigger longing. But for many women, especially those used to attention, the first instinct isn't missing you, it's measuring you. Silence triggers something in her, but it doesn't scream, I need him. Instead, it whispers, let's see how long he lasts. Whether she knows it or not, it becomes a subtle test. A quiet challenge. She's not just waiting for you to crack, she's counting on it. Because in her world, men always break eventually. That's how she flips the game. She doesn't chase, you do. Or at least that's what she's used to. So when your silence lingers longer than expected, it messes with her rhythm. She starts testing boundaries. Not with words, but with moves. Delayed responses. Ignoring your presence online. Strategic posts, nights out, selfies, that mysterious guy in the background. It's not random. It's all part of the script. What she's doing is simple. trying to provoke a reaction without saying a word. She wants to see if you'll panic, if you'll crumble, if you'll break the silence and send that long emotional message, if you'll fall into the trap of explaining yourself, of begging for clarity, of reaching for what was never lost in the first place. And if you do, she knows, she smiles. Because you just confirmed what she suspected. You were never in control. You were just waiting for her to notice. And the moment she pressed a button, you folded. But if you don't, if you hold your line and stay calm while the storm circles, that's when everything starts to shift. She keeps testing, but the silence doesn't break. The posts get bolder. The games get louder. But nothing from you. And suddenly her thoughts begin to spiral. Why isn't he reacting? Why is he so composed? What does he know that I don't? What started as a test to expose your weakness becomes proof of your strength. And that realization? It shakes her more than 1,000 words ever could. You didn't chase. You didn't flinch. You didn't play along. Most men lose their power by trying to prove it. But the ones who remain still, who let silence do the talking, become unforgettable. Yes, this phase is hard. It's uncomfortable. Your ego will beg you to speak. Your pride will push you to act. But true strength doesn't need to prove itself. True power waits in silence. And when you pass that test without ever raising your voice, you stop being the guy she wanted to forget, and start becoming the one she can't stop thinking about. If you are finding value in this, make sure to like and subscribe so other men can also have access to this epic stoic truth. Let's continue. Part 3. Curiosity evolves into obsession. Here's what no one tells you about silence. It isn't just quiet. It's a vacuum. And the human mind hates vacuums. When there's no message, no call, no update, her brain doesn't go still. It goes wild. It starts filling in the blanks with stories, theories, scenarios, most of them far more dramatic than the truth. At first, it's just mild curiosity. Why hasn't he texted? Is he busy? Did I miss something? But time passes. The silence lingers. And that tiny itch in her mind turns into a full-blown storm. Because curiosity left unanswered doesn't shrink. It spreads. And soon it morphs into something stronger, something she can't control. Obsession. Now picture her, late at night, lying in bed, phone in hand. She scrolls, she swipes, she taps your profile, again. She used to drift off to sleep with your name on her screen. Those late-night jokes. The random voice notes. The digital comfort of knowing you were there. But now, nothing, no ping, no trace. Just silence. And it eats at her. Her thoughts get louder. Is he seeing someone? Has he moved on? Was I just a phase? Every unanswered question turns into another layer of mental noise. That's the strange power of your absence. It forces her to build you up in her imagination. And the version she creates in her mind? It's flawless. You're colder, stronger, mysterious, hard to reach. More valuable than you ever seemed when you were just available. This is the paradox. You're doing less, but in her world you suddenly feel more. She starts to relive old moments. Your laugh. The way you looked at her. The way you made her feel seen. Not because you're pushing those memories, but because your silence is pulling them to the surface. And here's what most men don't get. Women don't just miss a man, they miss how a man made them feel. That feeling? It's addictive. And when it's gone, her mind doesn't just remember it, it amplifies it. And that's when obsession really takes hold. She might scroll your page 15-20 times a day. Check who liked your latest post. Zoom in on every face in your photos. All while pretending nothing's changed. That's the irony. Silence makes her feel more and show less. On the outside, she's calm, unbothered. But internally, you're the headline. And here's the best part. You didn't have to chase her. You didn't text. You didn't post cryptic stories. You simply disappeared. And that absence, it echoes louder than any attention you could have given. But here's the key. Don't interrupt it. Don't fill the silence. Let her wonder. Let her spiral. Because the longer she sits in that space of not knowing, the more her imagination does the work for you. Curiosity may have opened the door, but it's your silence that made her stay. Part 4. She begins to replay past memories in her head. When you disappear from her life, you don't just go silent, you echo. And the first place that echo lands is in her memory. Her brain doesn't pause. It rewinds. Like a late-night movie on loop she didn't ask to watch, she starts replaying every moment you ever shared. And not just the big ones, the little, quiet, almost forgettable ones too. Because that's the thing about silence. It removes distraction. It strips away the noise of the present. And when the present goes quiet, the past gets loud. Suddenly, she's remembering the way you used to look at her, the inside jokes, the way you said her name. Even the habits she once rolled her eyes at now feel oddly comforting. At first, it's subtle. A flash of your smile. A whisper of your laugh. But then it grows. She begins replaying entire conversations. Was he trying to tell me something that day? Did I miss a sign? Was I too cold? Too distant? She starts digging for meaning where she once felt certainty. Now every word you said has weight. Every glance is a mystery. Every pause is a clue. And here's where it gets even deeper. Nostalgia doesn't play fair. The mind rarely remembers things exactly as they happened. It romanticizes. It filters. It sweetens the bitterness and sharpens the sweetness. Arguments feel smaller. Good times feel better. In that nostalgic fog, you become the best version of yourself. More charming, more attentive, more valuable than ever before. Meanwhile, you're not even speaking. You're not chasing. You're not posting cryptic quotes or playing games. You're just absent. And yet in your absence, you become more present than you ever were. This is why silence cuts deeper than words ever could. When you chase, you remind her of the now. And if she's annoyed, confused, or guarded, that now makes you look weak. But when you're silent, she has no now to cling to, so she goes back. And in that space you win. You don't have to text her. Her own thoughts are doing that for you. You don't have to convince her of anything. Her memory is already rewriting the script. Suddenly, it's not just you she's thinking about, it's moments tied to you. That one song on the radio? You used to hum it while driving. That street corner? You kissed her there once. That random phrase? You said it like it was yours. Now it follows her everywhere. And the more she rewinds, the more she realizes something quietly dangerous. She doesn't want those memories to fade. She doesn't want them buried in the past. She wants them back. Part 5. She starts measuring you against the rest. Silence doesn't just make her think about you, it makes her notice everyone else. And that's where you quietly pull ahead. See, when you're not chasing, you become the contrast. Because most men, they're everywhere. Liking, commenting, double texting, reacting to every story like their worth depends on it. It's noise, constant, predictable noise. But you're the one who stepped back. And that absence becomes impossible to ignore. Here's the psychology. People don't notice what blends in. They notice what stands out. And in a world where male attention is thrown around like confetti, the one man who holds his energy back becomes valuable. Your silence doesn't just feel different, it is different. And different always sparks curiosity. That's when the comparisons begin. Why isn't he trying like the rest? What makes him so calm? What does he know that they don't? Without even saying a word, you force her to question what sets you apart. And every time another guy tries too hard, sends a cringy DM, or throws himself at her feet, it only sharpens the contrast. You, in your stillness, start looking stronger. While they're busy proving themselves, you've already made your impact by doing nothing at all. Because attention is common. Silence isn't. The man who withholds becomes more intriguing than the ones who overgive. And deep down, she doesn't want what's easy. She wants what holds its ground. She'll never admit it. She might even pretend not to notice. But the truth is, the comparison is happening in real time, every single day. And each time she weighs you against the rest, your stock rises. Not because you're louder, but because you're not trying to be heard. And that's the power of silence. It doesn't just shift how she sees you. It exposes everyone else trying to take your place. Part 6. She starts to doubt her own worth. This is where silence cuts the deepest, not through anger or confusion, but through self-reflection. In the beginning, it was all ego and curiosity. But as the silence stretches, it strikes something far more personal. It makes her question the one thing she never thought she'd doubt, her own value. You have to understand, she's used to being seen, being wanted. She walks into a room and heads turn, posts a photo and validation floods in. She sends a message, replies come instantly. That kind of consistent attention builds a belief. I'm the prize. Not because she's arrogant, but because that's the world she's grown accustomed to. But then you go quiet. And you were different. You weren't just another guy in her inbox. You were the one who had her attention. The one she assumed would always be there. And suddenly you're not. That silence, unexpected and unshaken, starts chipping away at the certainty she once carried so easily. Did I do something wrong? Am I not enough for him anymore? Did he realize he could do better? The thoughts creep in like whispers she can't turn off. And here's the brutal truth. Those aren't questions about you, they're questions about herself. About her place in your world. And that stings more than she'll ever let on. Because it's not about whether other men want her. She already knows they do. It's about why you don't seem to anymore. That mystery becomes the wound she can't stop poking. That's when she starts acting out, but in subtle ways. A sudden post designed to turn heads. A story meant to spark your reaction. A comment that seems random but is really just a breadcrumb, hoping you'll pick it up. It's not about being seen, it's about being seen by you. And here's where most men slip up. They see these signs and rush back in, hoping to reconnect, to reassure. But what they don't realize is, that defeats the silence. That cancels the very power that made her question herself in the first place. The key is restraint. Let her sit in that uncertainty. Let her wrestle with the shift. Because when she starts wondering if she still matters to you, everything changes. You're no longer chasing her validation. She's chasing yours. And that's when the dynamic flips. Not with noise, not with effort, but with silence that says, I'm not so easily impressed anymore. Part 7. Resistance fades, respect rises. There's a moment deep into the silence when everything shifts. What started as ego, as pride, as stubborn resistance, begins to dissolve. Slowly, quietly, it transforms into something far more meaningful. Respect. And that is where real attraction begins. At first she might fight it. He's ignoring me? Fine, I'll ignore him back. She might throw shade, test your patience, even try to trigger a reaction just to prove a point. But when nothing works, when you remain calm, grounded, unmoved, something unexpected happens. Her resistance loses power. She begins to see something in you that most men never show her. Discipline. The kind of control that doesn't lash out. That doesn't beg. That doesn't chase. The kind that stands firm even when everything inside you wants to speak. And that kind of restraint? It's rare. And rare always earns respect. You didn't write her a long message. You didn't buy flowers. You didn't explain yourself. Yet you delivered a message louder than all three. I don't need your validation to feel whole. You're not angry. You're not bitter. You're just self-possessed. And that energy? It's magnetic. Because the truth is, women don't crave chaos. They crave a man who can't be easily shaken. One who doesn't fold under pressure. One who commands respect by simply existing in his own lane. And that's when everything changes. She stops trying to break you. She starts measuring you. Her tests become less about provoking you, and more about learning how deep your strength really goes. And every time you remain steady, her respect for you deepens. Attraction that's built on compliments fades. But attraction rooted in respect? That lingers, that grows, that shifts the power. Now she's not just drawn to you for attention. She's drawn to you for approval. She wants to know she's earned the respect of the one man who didn't flinch. And the irony? You never had to raise your voice. You never had to prove your worth. Your silence already told her everything. And here's the truth most people overlook. Words can lie. Actions can be staged. But silence, real silence, can't be faked. It's raw. It's honest. And it hits different. She can second guess what you said. She can question your promises. But what she can't deny is the strength it takes to say nothing, to remain still when your pride wants to shout, when your heart wants to chase. That kind of silence? It speaks louder than any confession ever could. That's why in the end the resistance always fades. And in its place comes something far more lasting, respect. Because silence isn't cold. It's not cruel. It's a statement. A declaration that says, I know my worth, and I don't need to prove it to be seen. Mastering silence doesn't make you heartless. It makes you powerful. It's not about punishing her, it's about protecting yourself. And when you move from noise to stillness with calm, quiet confidence, she doesn't just remember you, she respects you. If this message struck something in you, drop a comment below. I choose silence. And if you're ready to dive deeper into the truth behind human behavior, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe